camera with the Good afternoon and welcome everyone and Happy New Year to you. I'm Dr. Sheila Caldwell. I serve as the Vice President for Anti-Racism, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the Southern Illinois University System, and we're grateful to have you join our first conversation of understanding for 2026. Many of you may have had the opportunity to join part one, Protecting Our Peace, with our SIU experts in wellness and coaching, as well as therapy. And so we definitely encourage you to check that out. But we're also very pleased and excited to have wellness experts and coaches here today. Coach Melody McClellan, as well as Coach Tara Albritton, have joined to really talk to us today about strategies to protect our peace and also reset our rhythms. We thought that this conversation is very timely for the new year so we can get into good habits and we can be set up for success and thrive in the new year. And so now I'm going to ask our coaches if they can just introduce themselves and really tell us about why they're enthusiastic and passionate about wellness in the new year. Coach Melody.
Good. Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Caldwell. I appreciate you having me for the conversations of understanding, as it is a good time at the top of the year and throughout. I am 8 years of service as far as coaching. I consult, train, and speak globally. I'm a published author. I'm a graduate of SIU Edwardsville and on the board for the BAA board there. And also, I just am very excited and passionate about wellness. Why? Because we go and study everything else and oftentimes not ourselves. And as I just think about it and reflect, that's how I got into business. I was a pharmaceutical rep for 18 years, selling all the chronic comorbidities, diabetes, blood pressure, cholesterol, sleep, asthma. And what I learned, the bags of medications were getting larger. Why? Because people were not gathering the skills and the education that they need to become better for themselves, show up for themselves. And so you have to learn that, just like we have to learn all of the curriculum and all of the degrees that we have. I work with a lot of leaders around the globe that don't take care of themselves. So it's a normal, and it's something normal that we're trying to change the narrative of. And I'm glad that you're having this conversation and you have me here today to help with strategies and techniques like I did on Channel 2 yesterday.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. And we're glad that you're in more of this proactive space because you've been on the back end and you like, let me tell people how to avoid some of these bags of medication, right? So we definitely appreciate that. Yes.
You're
And
welcome.
thank you. And Coach Tara, if you could share more about yourself and your practice and why you're enthusiastic about this topic today on wellness and expertise.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone. Dr. Caldwell, again, thank you for having me. I am the owner of She Got the Nerve Coaching and Consulting. I started coaching, I want to say about maybe 15 years ago. And one of the things that brought the passion to me for coaching and helping others identify what's important to self. The only person that we are in control of is ourselves. And so many times we're looking at what everybody else is doing and trying to figure out what everybody else is doing. And I am 100% certain that if we spend the time making sure that we're okay, taking care of ourselves, self-awareness is key for me. That's one of the things that I practice and talk about a lot is understanding self-awareness. And so I'm very passionate. And one of the things that I'm extremely passionate about is working with youth in coaching. That was one of the reasons why I really stepped into coaching. I have a counseling degree and I have a coaching degree, but I prefer coaching because coaching allows me the opportunity to partner with my clients and help them figure out what it is they need to do rather than me giving them, telling them what they need to do. Now, I have to admit, there is some counseling techniques that go in there, but I like to partner with my clients and give them some say over their life and help them create the road and the pathway to what it is they desire for their lives.
Excellent. Thank you. And I heard the word partner several times. So that collaboration is what we actually look forward to learning more about today, how you're collaborating with the youth, with your partners to be able to help them increase wellness. So we look forward to learning from those holistic strategies today. So again, I really appreciate you all both joining us. This conversation is going to really facilitate wellness for faculty, staff, and students. So for our faculty, staff, and students across SIU campuses, we're very grateful that you're here today as we prepare you for the academic year. And again, this is not just about moments of crisis, even though when we look throughout the world, it's very challenging in many different areas. You know, we're in the Illinois area, so we had more recent challenges in Chicago. Minneapolis is our neighbor. So many of us are paying attention, not just to what's going on in our backyard, but our neighbors and throughout the world. And so I think, again, this conversation is very timely. We're going to talk about how community, self-care, and open dialogue can help us be more peaceful, more resilient, and just really connect. We feel like this time it calls for all three of those things when we're challenged and also in the good times as well. And so with that, I want to just dive into some questions because we're eager to glean from your insights and your expertise. And my first question is for Coach Tara. So Tara, if you could tell us from a coaching perspective, what are some of the ways that students can recognize when their mental, emotional, or physical wellness is becoming out of balance, especially during high pressure academic periods? You know, students are going to have midterms and finals eventually. So what are some of the things they can do now to prepare themselves and pace themselves well throughout the semester?
Well, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Caldwell, for question. And again, one of the things that I'm passionate about is self-awareness. And so when we know who we are, when we know our bodies, when we know our moods, our emotions, our feelings, then that provides us an opportunity to realize when we are becoming maybe moody, when we are becoming extremely tired or fatigued, when we're easily irritated, and anything that is abnormal to our bodies. Physical, if you're getting headaches, your backache, you find yourself eating more what they call stress eating, or maybe you're not eating and you should be eating, so your body is not getting the nourishment that it needs. If you find yourself being a little bit more withdrawn, those are signs that you need to look into yourself. You need to figure out, okay, what is missing from my basic needs. And basic needs does not necessarily mean food, water, shelter. Basic needs is, are you using your creativity? Are you, doing some physical activity? Are you spending time with yourself? What's missing from what your body needs that's preventing you from being your best self? And again, in order to know if you are being your best self, then you have to know yourself. Self-awareness is key. If you are always moody, then you won't be able to tell when you're moody based on the, exams and things that are coming up. So if you start practicing some wellness tips, learning how to read your body, then you are able to tell that, okay, something is not right. My mindset is off. I'm snapping off on people. Then that's a sure sign that, you may be, the stress of the exams or the new year or starting over is starting to affect you mentally, physically, emotionally. And when it affects you that way, it definitely takes that energy and it starts to affect others around you as well.
Oh, excellent. Thank you for that. So being self-aware, paying attention to the cues, and then doing things to mitigate any challenges, as that you might be experiencing in those high stress times. So yeah, thank you
Yes.
so much for that. Um, so Coach Melody, with that, we are talking to students right now and really thinking about their well-being as they prepare for the academic year. And, we talked about our neighbors and just things that are happening. And so I'm just curious, when we talk about preparing yourself for wellness, and what are your thoughts about students actually watching? It could be students, it could be faculty, staff, watching traumatic events online. Like, for example, what happened in Minneapolis. Many of us saw what happened to Renee Good and to Alex Preddy, and those type of things are not without effect. So what type of traumatic experiences, observations can this have on your mental, emotional, and physical well-being?
Okay, a great question, and I'm going to kind of piggyback a little bit on Coach Tyra. But to answer that part of the question, I have something called social media and cell phone toxicity that I talk about a lot with young people. And you really do have to watch what you're putting in your mind, right? What you're looking at, what you're listening to. You have to learn how to get some clarity and have that self-care time, the quiet time. So for me, I would recommend them not looking at that very much, because some people binge watch it. They're watching it, they're listening to comments, and they're getting angry, and it starts to invoke all of these different emotions and setbacks of other traumatic things that may have happened in their life before. So I always tell people, protect your peace. Period. Like, you do not have to, in order to know what's going on in the world, you do not have to listen to that all day. Find other things that are positive and uplifting that you can actually look at. And also that starts to impact your productivity, because when that starts to wear on your mind, then you are more sluggish and you don't feel as well. We want people to work at their optimum. And I want to say, planning ahead and also creating a schedule. I talk to my mentors all the time about this, going back to school. Stop waiting to the last minute, meaning be proactive. If you have a schedule and you know what's going on, then what's due, you can work ahead. So now you don't have the stress falling on you, because a week before, I have this final exam and I have not studied and I only have 5 days. Your brain cannot absorb all of these techniques and the skills in different when you think about the different areas that people are studying, that students are studying in school. So I just want them to think about, how can I plan ahead and put in some of that physical activity? I know I had one of my mentors like, "Well, Coach Melody, I'm going to put my workout into the late morning." No, you put it in the early day, because you have to also learn your peak time, when your performance is at its best, how you're going to show up for yourself. And that helps you to wake up, so that even that's with your staff and students and leaders, we have to know our peak time so that we can perform at our optimum best. So I definitely think everyone should have a schedule and you should be on it.
Absolutely. I just want to say you're like preaching to the choir. I think our faculty, especially our academic team, would really appreciate that, because again, those are good strategies. Like you said, if you are practicing these good habits, it's going to help you academically, physically, mentally, emotionally. It all is interconnected and go together. You guys have already given us great insights. And so for those of you who are joining us on YouTube, we have Ms. Doris Williams here, and we would be very pleased if you were to put any questions for our experts today in the YouTube chat, and we'll make sure at about 10 to 1, about 12:50, that we have an opportunity for them to respond to those questions. So again, as we have this conversation, we welcome you to dive into the dialogue later on. So please, again, add those questions to chat. You just talked about wellness for students, and Coach Melody, I would like to really talk about a wellness lens, specifically as we talk about faculty and staff. So, I'm going to use words like burnout. What are some of the things that faculty can be aware of that signal burnout, compassion fatigue, if you can kind of define what that is, and even emotional overload? So yeah, what do those type of things look like? We talked about signs in students. What are some of these signs that may occur and signal to faculty and staff that they need to take a step back?
Yes, burnout, it's real. Of course, with me, I build out a lot of programs for workplaces, and I do a lot of leadership training, because culturally, you have to have that work on making sure that there's a culture of excellence within for your staff, right? Because they are impacting your students, the people that work around them, depending on the area of expertise or how many people they're managing. And burnout is a real thing. If you're feeling really tired and not wanting to show up, you're not happy where you are, there's so many signs and symptoms that present to you, and it starts to cause stress. Honestly, Dr. Caldwell, and people do not understand that. It's not just burnout, then it's stress, and then you're sleep deprived. That starts to make you cranky. Like, I have these 4 pillars, and those are 3 of them that are included, because it's so important to make sure that you're noticing that. Because when you start when you're burnt out, then it's really hard to show up for others, and it's hard to show up for yourself. But you have to think about those things that cause and have you to have your superpower. Physical activity is one of them. When you work out, your brain immediately gets a dose, right? A dose of endorphins that are going to help you to feel like energy. They're going to feel that helps to uplift you. So you have to know when you can step back, because if you're overloading yourself, and I wrote a book years ago called this Releasing the Superwoman Mentality, because sometimes we think more is better, but it's not. I've noticed over time, it's been 8 years. I told you 18 years in pharmaceutical sales, and then I've been 8 years full time with Unwrap You and this Coach Melody. People are not taking the time to slow down because they think when I do more, I'm better. You do not have to be defined by that. More is not better. I like to say do less best. So if you're showing up and giving 100%, maybe you can only go to work and have one extracurricular activity and support. But I notice people just continue to build their plate. It's like more and more and more, and I'm feeling more like affirmation. But you can't let other people define you. You have to do that for yourself.
Absolutely, yeah. Do less best. I love
Less
that. Yeah,
best.
yeah, because we can't do all things well all the time.
You cannot.
Absolutely.
And multitasking is another one. People think, oh, I'm on this call and I'm reading and I'm writing and I have to do a paper. One thing, and I say men master this because they do one thing at a time. And I didn't understand that. And once I stopped doing four things at one time, it does lessen your stress. So I'm encouraging people to kind of like take a look at yourself. How are you showing up and what are you doing and how can you do that better? And I think if we slow down and take pause breaks and minutes of just to take meditation, deep breathing, it does really help to give you more energy to get you through the day.
Absolutely. Thank you for those strategies again on being excellent. And so we talked about some of the practices. Tara, I just wanted to ask you to also just share with us, what are some of the daily or weekly mind body practices do you recommend to rather be faculty, staff, and students? We want to stay regulated, grounded, and focused because it's a lot going on at once. She talked about not, multitasking all the time, but I think sometimes people feel like that's how they get things done. So what are some of those practices just to stay centered and grounded?
So one of the things, and piggybacking off of Coach Melody, is with the multitasking, is we have to focus on what our actual purpose is. And as especially as women, as moms, we are used to multitasking. We are used to having to do 12 things at one time. But that does not mean we are called to do all those things. So making sure we identify what it is we are actually called to do. And then I'll go back to what I call the spices. This getting those needs met. Self-care is a lifestyle that we should be practicing every day. Everything about us that we need to take care of for ourselves is self-care. And so we got to make sure we get our social needs met, right? We got to make sure we get physical needs. We need friendship. We need people that we can connect to. We need people that's going to tell us, listen, sis, you look like you're wearing out. You looking like you're getting burnt out. Is there something I can help you do to slow down? Well, maybe you need to slow down and take care of yourself. We need that physical activity that's going to say, okay, I haven't walked, or I've been sitting at my desk or at the classroom, at the library for about 2 hours. I need to get up and move my body. The intellectual, sometimes we have to take a break from what we're actually working on and stimulate our mind with something else, and not the social media reading about the stuff in Minnesota, but find something that makes you laugh. Find something that brings you a joy, something that increases your good energy, your positive energy. And then, your creativity, check into your emotional. Sometimes we need somebody to tell us, you're doing a good job. We need people to tell us, you know what, I appreciate you. And sometimes you may not get that. So I encourage people in my practice, we use journals and mirrors. And every now and then I heard Coach Melody talk about affirmations. Sometimes you have to look in the mirror and affirm yourself. Sometimes you have to look in the mirror and tell yourself, you know what, girl, you doing this today. God, man, look, you rocking it. Sometimes you have to encourage yourself. And then we have to check on that spiritual need. So finding that power that's a little higher than us. Some people like to go out in nature. Some people like to meditate. So whatever it is, making sure that we call them the spices, that you are getting those needs met throughout the day. So when you start yourself to feel like Coach Melody said, the burnout, check in with yourself. What am I missing? What am I lacking? What part of me is not being fed? What need is not being met? And when we do that, then we have a better opportunity to kind of know where we are, know what we need, and then attend to that need in that moment.
Excellent. Yeah, no, thank you. Those are very specific and good strategies to think about. And one of the cues you said, I'm going to make sure I encourage somebody today. And for those who are listening, I don't think it costs us much to give a kind word. So I would just encourage people to, really find a kind word to say to somebody else today. I think you'll benefit from that as an individual, and it'll brighten someone's day. So we really appreciate just that, one of those tips that really can go a long way with each other. Coach Melody, you spoke about this earlier, just not multitasking and just really being aware. But, again, our students are probably taking anywhere between 5 and 6 classes on average. We have faculty teaching several classes, serving on committees, mentoring their students, those type of things. So my point is that they carry multiple responsibilities and multiple roles. And so if we're talking about establishing boundaries, what strategies do you recommend to help them establish boundaries, protect their energy, and then also to be able to stay engaged in teaching as well as mentoring and service? Our faculty do all of those things, teaching, mentoring, and service. So again, what are some boundaries to be excellent and also to protect energy?
Yeah. In order to be excellent and protect your energy, and I know this because I talk to a lot of different people as far as from the education standpoint, doing great work. Keep it up. That's good. That is perfect. But really thinking about your schedule and what is your priority. You maybe even create a list, priority 1, 2, 3, and making sure that you put that on your calendar, because there is 1,440 minutes per day. Even if you have 3 to 5 classes that you're taking throughout a week, there's still free time. It's just like, how are you maximizing it? So think about, what are the things you don't need? What's not serving you well? Meaning social media, just talking on the phone, mindlessness, and that sort of thing. So think of, you have to look at it in its totality, and in being able to do some block scheduling too. That makes it easy, because I have to do these from these hours, right? So then I'm going to give me some self-care. One thing I hear often is, I don't have time for myself. You have to make time for yourself. It's not that you don't have it, you haven't made time for it. And so what can you say no to? If you go to my Coach Melody page on Facebook or LinkedIn, I talk about this all the time. No is a complete sentence, and you do not have to justify it. So sometimes, we're like, well, I don't want to say, and I don't want to tell them, but we really do have, even in the curriculums, time within a day. Once you look at it, like, what are your days off? What are you doing with those days off? How are you maximizing those? What are you putting on your schedules? What can you let go of? And then telling people no means that now you're prioritizing yourself, because I feel like everybody should know where their happy place is, and some time in happy activities, meaning I have fun and these things bring me joy, and then creating a lifestyle change that you want for yourself, because no one else will do that for you. And I have a saying that people will do what you let them. And so when you say no and you're doing all these things and you're letting people occupy your time and your space, that's something you're allowing, and you have to sit back and see if that's to your greater good.
Absolutely. And what are your thoughts on that, Coach Tara, as well? She gave, very specific strategies. I agree, people will do what you let them do, right? And so you have to be the
Absolutely.
person regulating, right? Because then you'll look up and you'll be doing everything. But what are some additional strategies in addition to what Coach Melody shared?
So one of the things that she mentioned, prioritizing, and I am very strict about prioritizing as well. But I also would encourage you to identify your non-negotiables. And when you're setting boundaries, there has to be things that I'm not negotiating on that. Identify the things that drain you or the people who drain you. Identify those people, the people who suck the energy out of you. And then you want to make sure that when you're communicating your boundaries, that you are specific, that you are clear about what it is your boundaries are. And if possible, try not to wait until you are at the burnout stage. Try not to wait until you're just overly exhausted, but learn to communicate your boundaries, learn to communicate your non-negotiables before you get to that point. And then I believe I heard Coach Melody say prioritizing your day, getting comfortable saying no, unapologetically. It's no, or getting comfortable saying, you know what, I would like to help you with that, but I can't add anything else right now. So maybe we offer support, maybe we can find someone else to help you with that, but I can't do that. And then leave room on your calendar for you. You know, so many times, as Coach Melody said, we want to fill up the calendar. We got to have something right in there for every moment. But on your calendar, plan some time for you. Don't make your calendar so full that by the time it's your time, you have no energy to do anything for yourself. You just like, I'm going to go to sleep, or I'm about to just take me a bath and go to bed. Make sure that you plan some time in there for you to reflect on your day, to reflect on what worked for you throughout the day, to reflect on, okay, today I did a lot. Tomorrow I'm going to have to make some adjustments. I'm going to have to pivot. You know, planning, get the calendar, but sometimes you may have to pivot. You may have to say, you know what, I'm not going to be able to get this in today. I'm going to move this to this day. But making sure you identify your non-negotiables, make sure you're leaving time for yourself, and making sure that you are um, unapologetically sticking to your boundaries and your non-negotiables.
Excellent. Thank you all so much for that, because if I'm gonna be honest, I've heard some of these things before, but how often do I do them? I was listening to your interview, right? Your interview on TV, and you said, you got to do it, right? We are hearing these things, so I'm talking to myself, I'm talking to the people who are joining, but if we was to look at our calendars right now, do we have time allocated on our calendars? You mentioned, maybe a bubble bath. Is that forced, or do you actually already have that right on your calendar? It makes a difference when you're being intentional. For those of you who are creating lists and about people who drain you, just do not share the list with those individuals, right? Keep that to yourself, right? Because we do have to think about that. Where are we getting positive energy from? Where are we not? And so you have to, be clear-minded on those things. But yeah, those were excellent. And again, they only work if we do them, right? We got to work them to actually see the fruit and the results of those strategies.
Absolutely.
But again, excellent reinforcement. Um, you know, uh, Coach Melody, I want to go back to you for a moment, because you talked about the relationship between stress and burnout and fatigue and all those type of things. So if we could talk about stress, because I think that is a part of higher education, whether you're a student, a faculty, a staff, our president, administrators, it's stress is going to happen and it can disrupt routines. So can you tell us when the inevitable comes, what are some strategies, or how do you coach students? You talk about young people. How do you coach them to rebuild healthy rhythms? We talked about resetting our rhythm for the year. So how do we rebuild healthy rhythms around sleep, nutrition, rest, exercise without feeling overwhelmed? So when we fall off, what are some ways to get back on track? So, this is January. I heard you say earlier, January 16th is National Quit Day. Okay, so if you've already quit, right? Because we on the 28th now of January. How can you get back to a place of wellness? How can you reset?
Well, Dr. Sheila, I just want to, Dr. Caldwell, I just want to tell you, thank you. You really did listen to that Channel 2 interview yesterday. I honestly, it happens. Yes, January 16th is National Quitters Day, where people abandon their goals. But this is what I say. Every day you get to start over, fresh and new. What people have to do is not administrators, students, staff. You just can't be so hard on yourself. If you don't get it in today, start over the next day. Now, what I recommend to my clients, I don't care if I'm speaking or training or trying to get people to incorporate whatever behaviors, you have to write it down. I wake up every morning and plan my day out or the night before. Don't do it as you go along. You really have to put some thoughtfulness and some time into it. What do I need to get done? What are my priorities? Like Coach Tyra said, 1, 2, 3, maybe you have 10 things on the list. You're only going to get 4 or 5 done today. And that is what helps you to alleviate burnout. Burnout is because people are tired, maybe not doing the things that they're enjoying. You have to also think about, is these life things that I'm doing, are they bringing me joy? Because when you find that joy, it does make a difference. And one thing we have not touched on is knowing who you are. Are you an introvert? Are you an extrovert? Do you even know what that means? Like a lot of times people don't know what that means. The extroverts is not just because you're outgoing or you're talkative. I'm a true extrovert because I get my energy from people. When I go around people, I'm uplifted, I'm excited, I'm energized. Introverts, it pulls from them. So when they go around people, and you can tell I have an introvert and an extrovert child, right? And I'm like, wow, I never knew that as a mother. So it's important to know like who you're dealing with and who you are, because then as an introvert, I have to go and refresh. I have to get my energy back up. And that also could be a part of the burnout because people don't know their personalities and what is giving them and feeding them throughout the day, throughout the week. If you're drained all the time, then you definitely need to look back and say, oh, you know what? Why am I doing this? How can I overcome this? Because burnout, if you're at that stage, you need to get some help. That's one thing that I recommend. A lot of times people do not see the value in a coach or someone with that expertise, if it's a counselor or whatever. Use your resources, get yourself some training. Although this sounds easy because Dr. Caldwell is putting it out, Coach Tyra, myself, but if you're not doing the work, you're not going to get the results. And if you've already abandoned your goals, then you need someone to help you with coaches and people with expertise can bring value. I do assessments. I get your baseline. We get you goals, 1 or 2 that you build. You create lifestyle change. It takes 21 days to change a habit. So you can't get 10 goals in 21 days and think you're going to accomplish them. And so you have to find the right rhythm and the right program that's going to work for you. And I think that people don't understand that. But if you think of it, I want to use analogy at school. We go to school to get our education. You get your doctorate, you get doctor, lawyer, whatever, counseling. Who takes the time to go and study their mental, their physical wellness? You only get one mind and one body. And we have to take better care of it. And we have to be intentional as we're moving through time, because what you end up seeing is at the end of the year, you look up and you have that same goal for the last 5 years. Then that means you need help. And I encourage everybody to take away not just what we're saying, but what are you going to do? Write it down. Get your journal. I publish a journal. I'm like, write it down. I want to hear. This is just not, it's health tips in here, trackers. It's also affirmations. And you need some tools and strategies to be able to get you through, right? And that's the same reason why I built my 90-day wellness course. Everybody might not have time for a coach, but they can go and take the course and get the same sort of teachings and learnings and be able to direct them. They can get a power hour where they can go through and sit down and develop the goals. And at least you're able to get yourself on track and see some of your pitfalls, because this is just not anything. I'm so passionate about it. And I'm like, I want people to do the work, Dr. Caldwell. And that takes time. It takes education, which I don't think we have enough of out of all the education that we have. Even physicians, they work with me. I have physicians and nurses because they're trying to do better with their mental and physical well-being as well.
Excellent. Thank you. And and that definitely resonates. We do only have one mind and one body, right? And so if we don't take care of that, and now is the time to take care of that, regardless of age. We might have some of the students who are younger, our faculty and staff, dependent, may be more seasoned, but it's never too late, right? To get back on track and to start practicing those habits of wellness and well-being. So thank you for those tips. And so Coach Melody talked about, different things to reset. And Tara, I'm going to turn to you. If you could just talk about, after we reset, what does it look like to have long-term balance and sustainability? So as we start the new year, like what are some foundational wellness shifts that you would encourage students, faculty, or staff to make that really supports, again, long-term balance and sustainability over the long haul?
So, before I answer that, I just want to piggyback off of what Coach Melody said about one of the key things that she says, that we can provide all the strategies, all the tips, all the tools, but if the person does not do the work, then you're not going to see any results. So if I can't say anything else, I want to say you have to do the work. And then one thing we have to understand about our wellness is that it's not something that we turn on and turn off. It's not some on again, off again thing that we have to do. So as you're starting a new year, you're starting a semester, you have to think about what your plans are. There's a saying that says, if you don't plan to fail, you fail. If you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. And so you have to come into the newness, not focusing on what was. If you didn't get it done last year, if you didn't get it done last semester, you cannot live in that space. You have to create the new. Okay, well, what are my goals for myself? What am I going to plan to do in the new year? What can I do differently? Or you can have your goals, and sometimes you may have to pivot. Sometimes you may make some adjustments to those things, but not staying focused on what was, not beating yourself up because you had this down, but you didn't get this done. As Coach Melody said, every day is an opportunity to start new. Every day is a day to begin again. Every semester, challenge yourself. If you knew that this is what your goals were for last semester and you didn't make it, keep it there and just continue to work towards your goal. Goals should be written in pencil because sometimes you're not going to achieve it in the time that you desire. Does not mean that you won't achieve it. Adopt a sustainable work-life balance. You know, you go into school, and when I was a teenage mom. I had 3 children, and I had to go to school full time. I had to work full time. I was paying childcare for somebody so I can go to school at night. I was paying childcare so I can go to school. Go to work in the daytime. But you have to find that work-life balance because no, I couldn't not take care of the kids. I had to work, but I was also, for me, I was saying, and putting myself in the position to not need a man because I was also a single mom. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not about to tell myself I got to have a man to help me raise my children. So I had to do the things that I needed to do, but I had to learn about a work-life balance. And as a 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old, I ain't know nothing about that. So I worked harder, I guess, than smarter, but I did what I needed to do. So if we adopt a sustainable work-life balance, and support the long-term balance of what we want, understand your goals, know what your goals are, but guess what? They're your goals. And so you get to write and rewrite them as often as you need to. And just because you are starting a new semester, a new year, and I hear a lot of people talk about, new year, new me. It's not a new you, you're saying you're going to be improved. You should be working toward being a better version of yourself than you were yesterday. So newness is every day. Every day, everything you do is new. Even if you've taken something from last year, last semester, when you come into a new day, you get a new opportunity to do something different, to learn something new, to incorporate something new, to add to the things that you've already had that's new. So making sure that you not stay focused on what was, but keep your eye toward what is, working toward what's to come. Sometimes we get so far down ahead, we're not in the present. And that causes burnout. When you start looking way down in the future about what you see, you miss out on what's right in front of you. So keep the main thing, not looking back, not looking ahead, but staying right here in the present so you can be fully present in what you're doing today. And tomorrow will take care of itself. Yesterday has already come and gone, so you can't go back and change that. Just allow yourself to be present in your newness day by day.
Wow, that was a whole sermon. That really was what you had to share. Thank you for that. I know people who are listening want to unpack what Coach Tara and Coach Melody said. So I definitely, if you want any further strategies or unpack some of the questions that you may have or strategies they have proposed, please put those questions in the chat and we will make sure we get to them. We have about 10 more minutes before we get to our questions. Coach Tara, you talked about yeah, just the different things you had to do to make it happen, to live in the present, to meet your future goals. And so I do want to acknowledge that as we talk about faculty, staff, and students, we have parents. Some of our students are parents as well, and they also are juggling, multiple responsibilities in the workplace, in their academic setting, as well as home with their family. And so again, it's a lot of balls in the air. And I could say the SIU has a spirit of excellence. It is a high achieving environment. And so now I want to talk about, as we have all these ambitious people who strive for excellence, what does it look like to rest? I think about Trisha Hersey, who said rest is resistance. She had a book, she has cards about different strategies to rest because rest is a form of resistance. So, and we know that people struggle, and they have guilt around rest. That's why you have the calendar, right? You look at the every hour and it's full because you feel guilty if you take a reprieve, if you rest. So if you could talk to our faculty, staff, and students, people who have joined, people who are going to go back and look at this, and talk about what does it look like to slow down and to release shame around resting and to begin to see rest as essential to mental wellness. It's not optional. It's not a reward, right? Rest is not a reward, it's necessary. So I would love for both of you all to chime in on this question and talk to us about how people can see rest differently than maybe how we were brought up in ambitious households that strive for excellence.
Okay, well, I'll start. First of all, as you said, rest is not a reward. We should be working honestly from a place of rest. And rest doesn't mean laying down, taking a nap. Rest means clearing your head, clearing your thoughts, clearing your mind, clearing your emotions, allowing yourself to be able to think, allowing yourself a space for nothing. Like we should be working from a place of peace. There are things that are in our control. There are things that are out of our control. And we need to identify if it's out of our control, it needs to be out of our control. And we need to learn how to delegate. Listen, I'm not able to do this, or I don't know how to do this. We don't have to be responsible for everybody's everything. And so when we talk about rest, we talk about taking a retrospective look at what we need. What does rest look like? Because rest is not a one size fits all. Some people rest when they're working out. Some people rest when they're journaling. Some people rest when they are actually working. What does rest look like to you? And then what is your body telling you it needs? And that goes back to what I talk about when I talk about the spices. What is missing? What is my body missing that I need to stop and tend to my body's needs? Do I need some social interaction? Do I need to call my friends and say, hey, let's go out and have a drink or a drink of coffee? Do I need do I need some physical activity? Do I need to tap into my creativity, my intellectual? I need to be learning something new that's going to stimulate my mind. Do I need to tap into my spiritual? Understanding what rest is for you and for your body, and understanding that whatever we are doing, we should be working from a place of rest. We should be working, considering and thinking about our well-being. How is this serving me in this moment? Now, there are some times when we have to do this. Sometimes school, you have to juggle all the things. And if you're a student and a parent, you got to do this. And if you're a student, a parent, and an employee, you got to do some things. But you still have to identify that work-life balance. And then you have to figure out, okay, I need something. I need to rest. Is it your mind? Is that what you need to rest? Is it your body? Is that what needs to, is your soul, is your spirit? Identify what the body needs and then give it to the body unapologetically. Allow your body to speak to you and listen.
And Dr. Caldwell, I know you wanted us both to comment. I want to take a quite a different little spin because that's all true. But I also want to say that we have been shamed around sleep. If you think about it, so often we hear, oh, if you sleep too much, you know, if you're going to be successful, you only need 4 hours of sleep. All wrong. That's one of my 4 pillars. Is sleep is in there, and it's not rest, it's sleep. We need 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. Our young people, our students need even more because that's how you grow. That's also how you reset. Every day you need to sleep and you wake up and you reset. It's like a car. Your car drives with the gas that you put in it. If you don't put gas in it, it stays still. If you're not sleeping well, you wake up, you cranky, lethargic, you don't feel good, you don't have the best energy. That's another way of burnout. And I think it's one of those things that people do not understand. Sleep is essential to your body, just like food, just like exercise. It's like that's the 4 pillars for me, and then reducing the stress. And I would just encourage everybody, if you want to think, oh, I can get it all done and I don't need sleep, and you're popping pills. And I know students that say they're staying woke on different whatever they're taking, caffeine. You cannot do that. It gets your body in hyper mode, especially when you're drinking these drinks that are full of sugars and all of these endorphins that it's increasing. You want to make sure that you are showing up for yourself. And it's simple. Sleep. Now you may say, well, I didn't get done what I need to get done. Guess what? It'll be there tomorrow. It will be there in the next day. And you can pick it back up. And perhaps you just need to take less time, right? And it's not that sleep. I have a thing where sometimes you just need 15 minutes to reset. It's not just sleep, but that's a reset time. It could be 30 minutes where you just quiet everything down. You cut everything off. Close your eyes. Just take some moments to be still. And you can do that in the library. I had 3 speaking engagements at the university in St. Louis last week, and I had 3. That's a lot, right? Because you're powering through, you're speaking, you're encouraging. And I had to go to the library, and I just took 30 minutes in between the hour break that I had for the 3rd presentation. And I felt like a new person. So you also have to know sometimes you won't get to go to sleep at that time, but whatever, if you're a nighttime person, you get your sleep at night. But you have people that, like nurses, that are working different hours, some people that work days and nights, but you have to find out your time. And that's where identifying your peak performances come in at as well.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Yeah. And I like that distinction because like you said, rest is different strategies that you can kind of relax and calm down, but it's like, what does the body actually need? And as you said, the body needs 7 to 9 hours of sleep to restore itself, right? And so I appreciate that tip. And we actually have a question. Again, thank you all for joining via YouTube. And so this question is presented to Coach Melody and Coach Tara. First question, Coach Melody, how can we help support the people on our team? So this is coming from a director or supervisor who has a team, and they want to know how to help their team address their own workplace stress and prevent their burnout. They would like some strategies, if you all can share some ideas of how a leader can help their team members prevent stress and burnout and make them aware of when they are stressed and when they are burnt out so they can also self-manage.
You know what? I do respect that question, but I do not want to simplify it that easily, right? If you're not trained, that's why I love starting with leadership teams, because there are strategies and techniques that I can't tell you in a 2-minute clip, right? But if you are, it's being able to embed that culture into your workplace. So I'm glad that question came up. But first, I would also recommend you have to get some tools and the things that are going to be able to help them. It's not just so much like, hey, you can do one thing. I first need to assess to see where a person is, like how they're showing up, what activities, what are they doing. There's a whole a sheet that we start off with to identify every person. I don't care if it's 1,000 people watching us. They're going to be 1,000 different goals, right? Because everybody is different. So from a leadership standpoint, that's why I say take 4 to 8 weeks. Have Coach Tyra or myself come in. Well, I know that that's what I do. I go into the workplace and I say, hey, let me assess. Let's see where everyone is and let's get on one page. What is it that you need? What do we need to focus on? Because it's not going to be the same for everybody, but you are building a culture where you're making sure that they have time. Like I had a VP, they had a death in the family, the staff did. And she looked at me like, what should I do? Let her go. Like she needs to take time to be with her mom. She just got diagnosed with cancer. If she's at work, she's not going to show up as her best self because her mind is at the hospital with her mother, all in different places and wanting to be there, but she can't leave for work. So being sensitive to life situations and being able to allow your employees to incorporate some of what they need from a personal perspective when they can, being flexible, right? So that you can pivot when you need to, because those employees love to see that their leaders care about them and their family, their mental and well-being and what's happening with them. If they need to take some time to kind of step out and get some free air, some air outside of the normal time, I think it's really being intentional about understanding the dynamics and what's happening with your team. And as a leader, I always say that it's so easy for us to say this and it's so easy to hear it, but the action is the most important part, which is the step 2 that I'll talk about as we wrap up later on in this time with you guys.
Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Okay.
Showing compassion, empathy, giving people time. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so for me, I would encourage as well is to check in with your staff, check in with them, find out what they need. Sometimes your staff gets so busy and they're working so hard because they want to do such a good job that they don't stop. But as a leader, I would encourage you to check in with them, let them know that you see them. I see what you're doing. I see your work. Is there anything that I can do to support you? Is there anything that I can do to help you along? Or as Coach Melody was saying, I know that you're going through a rough time here. Do you need some time off? When in my job right now, we have supervision like every 3 weeks. So every 3 weeks we come in, we kind of talk about what I'm doing, and then she has questions. What have you done for self-care? What do you plan to do for self-care? How are you taking care of yourself? So she asked these questions. And honestly, sometimes I'm like, I don't really know. I haven't. And then sometimes I'm like, well, I have this plan. I'm going to do this. And if I have it, then she said, okay, you're gonna take off this day. So be intentional about identifying or at least acknowledging what you feel like your employees may need or what your students may need. Because sometimes we work and we don't even recognize, as we talked about earlier, we don't even recognize that we're at burnout. So sometimes we need somebody else to come in and remind us, okay, you need to take a break. You're doing a lot. And then praise, I talk about them, encourage them, let them know you're doing a great job. Even if there's something that you got to correct, let them know that they're doing a great job. Let them know that you appreciate them. Let them feel, because employees work better. Productivity rises, attendance rises when a staff member feels appreciated. So let them know that I see you, I appreciate you, and I am here to support you. Tell me how.
Yes, no, excellent. Thank you. Those were, again, practical strategies that people probably have heard, but have we done that? I mean, to actually have self-care questions as part of a check-in and the evaluation when you connect with your team members, that is priceless. I don't necessarily do that often. We have conversations, but to have that be a part of the structure is something that I think we definitely can all do. So thank you for that. And I also want to say, as far as appreciation, I do want to put a plug in for February 2nd. We're going to start our climate survey. And when we did our initial climate survey in 2022, employees did say we would like to hear affirmations and appreciation for our work. So I just wanted to say that that's not just something that people want to hear. We actually have data and evidence specifically for the SIU community that employee appreciation is important, again, when it's sincere and people are actually deserving and they've done a good job. So I think I just wanted to reinforce that. And come February 2nd, next Monday, we're going to ask for everybody's input again on their perceptions around our campus climate. So we'll be able to do more of these sessions based on the feedback we receive from that campus climate survey. So if you're a faculty, staff, or student, Viewfinder will be sending that survey. So please take an opportunity to take advantage of that. And you know what, we have another question for Coach Tara. Someone mentioned that she talked about being present. We acknowledge that our students are busy people, but what are some of the strategies or tools that they can use to change their mindset from seeing self-care as one more thing to do? And so I think about what you and Coach Melody have already said, but somebody might, when we talk about rest is not a reward, rest is resistance, self-care, people might see that as another thing that they have to put on a checklist that may appear to be burdensome. So how can we shift mindsets around that?
I think the major way to shift the mindset is to create or adopt the mindset of self-care is a lifestyle. You don't do self-care, you live self-care. And so one of the things you have to do is be intentional about checking in with yourself. And so Coach Melody brought up her journals. I also wrote a journal, Confidence in Motion. And in this journal are questions. And I keep my journal with me because whenever I feel myself getting like overwhelmed, I go to the journal and I pick out a question that's going to ask me something about myself. So it brings the attention back to me. So one thing to keep in mind is self-care is not something that we do. Self-care is a lifestyle. We should be living every day, all day. We should stop, take a break, and check in with ourselves. Have I eaten today? How much water have I drank today? You know, have I smiled today? Have I laughed today? So self-care should not feel like a chore. Self-care is not, oh, I got to go get my nails done. Oh, I got to get my hair. That's not self-care. That's just self-maintenance.
Mhm.
Self-care is a lifestyle. Adopt the mindset of every day we should be living self-care, not doing self-care.
Excellent. Thank you.
Now, can I say something to that one, Dr. Caldwell?
Please do, Coach Melody.
Okay, that's interesting because I have a self-care toolkit and I actually wrote that's part of a health tip, self-care, and the fact of how your body will respond to you based on how you treat it. And you have to have good nutrition and exercise and proper rest. And I give like free different ideas that they can do for self-care. But I created the toolkit because a lot of people really don't know. Like she said, it feels like it should be the best thing on your calendar, right? You should be excited about your self-care because it's like this is the only time I can give to myself. So self-care for me is physical activity. I go to the gym, walk, ride my bike or something in the morning. It's how I get my day started. So I'm really annoyed if I have to put an 8 o'clock meeting on my calendar because I'm like, it impedes on that. But no, you get up and you do it at 6 o'clock in the morning. You know, you have to have that time to be a little bit flexible. But what I know is once you start really creating lifestyle change and you incorporate you into your life, it will be a game changer. Like you will yearn it, you will want it, you will look forward to it, you will enjoy it. So it is about a mindset shift. Like I'm getting ready to take some time for myself. But don't think you have to take an hour to start. Start with 5 minutes, start with 10 minutes, and then add on. I always tell people do free writing, write in your journal, think about reflections. Then you add on and you add on. And that's how you do it. You don't do the whole hour at once. It's a gradual lifestyle change that you create for yourself. That is sustainable.
Excellent. Thank you. You all have given us so many rich tips. We really appreciate this conversation. I know I personally gleaned a lot, and there are things that I'm going to incorporate, and I'll be reaching out for those of us who were interested in the journals and really following up with Coach Melody and Coach Tara. That their information is in the chat. So please feel free to reach out to them. For our students, we have, counselors on site, and we definitely encourage you to take advantage of them, as that is part of your tuition and fee package that you can actually see them on our campuses. But again, for faculty and staff, there are additional resources with the Employee Assistance Program. So I mentioned all of those resources to say that none of us are without excuse, right, to be able to practice self-care, because the institution has provided resources. We are here today, again, inviting experts to really give us some gems and nuggets about how we can start our new year right and really practice self-care. So again, thank you all so much for your wisdom, your care, and your practical guidance. I really appreciate this. And again, this will be uploaded on our system YouTube channel. So many of us will be able to go back to this conversation if we were like, oh, that was a good one. Let me hear that part again. You definitely will be able to do that on our YouTube channel. So this is, again, we look forward to continuing this conversation and really applying these strategies to protect our peace. We want to foster resilience and strengthen our community across all of our campuses. So Coach Melody, Coach Tara, thank you all so much for being here. For those who joined on YouTube, thank you so much. And I hope everyone has a great day and a year filled with peace and